You're welcome to the program. Let's start off the morning with some news concerning politics. The upcoming primaries of the NDC, originally slated for Saturday, May 13, could now be in limbo after the 2024 flag-bearer hopeful of the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, filed a suit against the party, asking to halt the Saturday, May 13 primaries. According to him, his team has identified some discrepancies in the voter register to be used for the exercise.
The rate, Dr. Duffuor claimed that the party failed to provide the required photo album register ahead of time. According to him, the copy of the register given to his team contains 220 constituencies instead of the 228 constituencies declared by the party. Additionally, he claimed that his team identified basic errors and inaccuracies that make the photo album register incomplete and unreliable for a credible elections. The party had earlier rejected his plea for a postponement of the election, with some officials accusing his team of bad faith. In all, Dr. Duffuor is seeking a declaration that the party photo album be recompiled to ensure fairness. He also wants the party to be ordered to deliver a complete and accurate photo album register at least 5 weeks ahead of the elections. He is therefore urging the court to injunct and restrain the party's General Secretary, Director of Elections, and the Electoral Commission from going ahead with the May 13 nationwide primaries.
Well, let's now hear from a member of the Dr. Duffuor campaign team, Dr. Kofi Kukubo.
Invited to a meeting on the 4th of May. And that 4th of May, the hard drive that we gave them since 29th of March to put a soft copy of the voters register on it was handed over to us. That it contained 228 photo album on the voter register. However, when we opened the pen drive, we realized that it was only 220. So clearly, the ground that we are establishing is that. And as it stands now, the NDC or Dr. Kwabena campaign team, we do not have the full complement of the voter register.
Well, we're staying on this subject to bring you details when they're happening in a subsequent bulletins. But in the meantime, the Member of Parliament for Asante Akim North, Andy Apiakubi, is expected to later in the day meet with a special prosecutor to answer some questions on an allegation of bribery. The MP had earlier alleged that a wealthy businessman attempted to bribe the majority to soften their stance on an appeal to remove the finance minister from the office. This happened sometime last year.
I want somebody, one person, or anybody associated with any such person who thinks that he can give money. Anybody. If I hear anybody working for any of such persons or if working, I will come out with information that we are beyond the bribes. Our motivation is not the financial inducement. I'm sure we have sent this message to some people. They have sat upright. And I'm referring to situations of yesterday. Yeah. I am saying that we have sound enough warning to people who want to influence members of our coalition with materialism. It won't happen.
To some other stories, the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, Emmanuel Coting, has called an overhaul of the training regime of the Ghana Police Service. He is also demanding an audit into the way individuals are recruited into the service. Emmanuel Coting was reacting to the increasing shooting incidents involving police personnel.
Of weapon handling within the police service over the last few weeks, it indeed calls into question the professionalism of the police as an institution. I think that the police as an institution has become the pudding of politicians where they use it to get jobs for their boys and girls. And this is what we get. So it means that the police as an institution, as far as weapon handling is concerned, is at a crossroad and which must be looked at independently. And this calls into mind the voices of conscience who are calling for an independent police commission. I think that the police cannot continue to investigate itself. And I also find it very problematic that the investigation into this very incident has not been concluded, and yet the victim has been buried. And from my investigations, some media men tried to cover it, and they were prevented by the IGP. And how is the police going to investigate itself? Who watches over the watchman? So I think that as a democracy, we must strengthen our laws, and the loud cry for an independent police commission is long overdue. When you recruit people who are not qualified in the name of party colors, what do you expect? If you talk to many senior police officers, they will tell you morale within the service, the professionalism has been thrown into the garbage. I think we need an audit and an overhaul of the service. Then we look at the numbers we have, the kind of training regime that they have undergone, and what kind of help we need to give to the service. As an institution, if you don't have some of these measures in place, you cannot grow. And you know, the last time we spoke, I particularly called out the IGP and his autocratic nature. When you do that and you put boys on the street in the name of Dampari boys, and they take orders directly from you, you are breaking the professional orders of the service. And it's not a service one person can do it alone. You understand? So it has a problem that is embedded on leadership. And I think the police as an administration is suffering from one leadership crisis, and any institution that has this kind of challenge will not be able to mechanize the other ingredients that make institutions function properly. And unfortunately, innocent people are losing their lives.
Let's still stay on matters concerning security, this time taking you up north, because all basic schools in the Karaga Township were temporarily closed down by the District Education Directorate following an overnight security operation that resulted in the arrest of 4 suspects in connection with the recent murder of an elder of Karaga na Nantongma Isaaku Korakora. A cross-section of the youth on Monday, May 8th, went on rampage, destroying property over the arrest of the suspects, who have since been remanded into prison custody. They have been charged on 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder and are to reappear on May 23. Now, on April 7, Isaaku Korakora was murdered by unknown gunmen. This was after the Karaga na Nantongma selected him as Suson Lana. He was allegedly trailed and shot by his assailants. To some other disturbing news, one person is battling for his life after another building collapsed at Botiano here in Accra. A 3-story auditorium of the World in Action Church in the Gas South municipality came tumbling down in what is the 4th building collapse in the last week, prompting concerns of structural integrity of buildings across the country. George Queening was at the scene and reports.
In less than 2 weeks, there have been multiple building collapses across the country. There was one recorded in Medina, another in Adenta, Tamale, and the latest being Botiano. And this is the Word in Action Church, located here at Botiano in Accra. And this very collapse occurred around 9 a.m. today. 7 persons were injured in the process. 1 in critical condition has been transferred to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and the other 6 were locally treated and have been discharged accordingly. NADMA officials have been here to assess the situation, and they are not happy about 10 of events.
There hasn't been an earthquake, there hasn't been a tremor, and then the building just collapsed. And we have experienced collapses in the past 1 week. So for now, we are saying that this is a security area. No, we don't want anybody tampering with evidence. So we have asked that no work should be done. There shouldn't be any excavation, only attempt to clear the debris, because the engineering council will need to pick samples for investigations.
Some church members want to assess the auditorium and salvage some items like the instruments, among others. And the Engineering Council have also been here to assess the situation. And for them, the concrete works are very porous, and so they are not really surprised about 10 of event.
From what you can see here, concrete work is very porous. It means poor work was done in the construction, and no supervision was done at the time of construction. This is what we want to, the council wants to avoid, to make sure when you award a contract or you bring a permit for approval, there should be follow-ups to make sure there's proper supervision. Good work is done. Otherwise, you don't continue at all. We can't accept buildings to be collapsing from here and there. Now that the rains have started, we already have 4. Why should we continue?
Auntie Mamesi sells fried yam directly opposite the church building, and this morning she witnessed the church collapse.
I say I two tear gas.
We were all running for our lives when we saw the building collapsing. I even fell down in the process.
By me sorry and I'm dying machino, not a dino air perform slowly.
Some boy, ne funny pano, and I yi panupano. Nipa dance need in a home. I then jury good in your son in to me, oh, top picture.
It was sad to see people trying to take videos and pictures instead of helping. This is a bad practice.
When you look at the church schedules, they meet on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. On the weekdays, they meet at 7 p.m. and on Sunday, it's 9 a.m. Imagine this collapse occurring in the evening today. Would have been very disastrous. Apart from the fact that concrete works are porous, the main cause for the collapse of this church building will be made known after investigations are through. We'll follow up and update you in our subsequent bulletins. George Quinn, TV3 News, Botiano, Accra.
Some very unfortunate disasters happening recently there. Well, still on that subject, there have been 3 confirmed fatalities, 9 injuries and 100 additional people. They've been left homeless when a rainstorm and thunder hit the Upper East Region's Timpani and Garu districts. The windstorm with accompanying thunder lasted for several hours and seriously damaged property.
Primary schools at Zambala, Yabragu, Akarateshi, Pasako and Basyonde are some of the seriously affected facilities. Abubakar Sadiq was a resident of the Pasoko in the Tampani district, lost a 5-year-old child when his entire home collapsed on them. 7 additional family members also sustained injuries of varying severity.
Some have broken legs, some affected their head and co. In fact, it has destroyed everything in this community, including our food, where we store and co.
The family and other affected individuals are currently without a place to live. The Bugri Assembly of God Church pastor and his family are rendered homeless as a result of the destruction of the church, the mission house and Hope International School.
So we are appealing to Ghanaians for a support. And also the church has a school, the primary school, the roof has been taken off.
Numerous commercial trees as well as a few high-tension electricity poles were uprooted. 2 people are known to have died at Garu as a result of the thunder strike. A man in his 70s was killed in the first occurrence at Garu Pasako when he was struck by the thunder while inside his home. A woman and her 3 children were victims in the second thunder occurrence. 2 of the victims fortunately survived. In the meantime, the zonal directors of NADMO have been instructed by the 2 district directors to assess the extent of the damage. During the 136-kilometer turnaround for this story, the motorbike broke down, requiring assistance from the Assembly of God Church to get back on the road.
Well, those schools will undoubtedly need some help. The Gbewa College of Education is requiring at least 6.2 million cedis to repair the damage caused to its infrastructure by a recent rainstorm. Principal of the college, Dr. Halidu Musa, disclosed this when he received some building materials worth 200,000 cedis from a benefactor.
3 days after the students had left for holidays on April 5, a devastating rainstorm struck the Gbewa College of Education in Pusiga. Facilities such as dormitory buildings, lecture halls, library, administrative buildings, and others were destroyed. After assessing the damage, it was determined that 6.2 million cedis would be required to repair the infrastructure in order to accommodate the students who have begun returning to college this week. The Pusiga District Assembly lacks the resources to finance the college, according to the district NADMO director, who led specialists to complete the study. Besfa Rural Limited has come to the aid of the college on Tuesday, May 9, with 140 bags of cement and 5 bundles of roofing sheets worth 20,000 cedis.
We deem it a great deal to be able to support institutions that are around that actually have been affected by this rainstorm. We see it as a call on us, a call to duty to be able to support them. It is just because we don't have enough funds, otherwise we should have been able to even cover much.
Principal of the college, Dr. Halidu Musa, expressed appreciation for the kindness and urged for further action to lessen their burdens.
And everywhere you go, it is not easy. It's not easy anyway. And for us, the deadlines that we have to fix these things, we can tell you we are in distress. We are in total distress, and we need their assistance as quick as possible. Central government, of course, must come in because we are under GTEC as the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, and they are the managers, and they have funding from GET Fund to assist the colleges and tertiary institutions in the country. When will it come? And schools reopened yesterday. Our students have started coming. It is a big problem to management.
He stressed that without external assistance, the college would not be able to raise the required 6.2 million cedis needed to fix the damages.
Now, granite is a staple crop in Ghana and a core ingredient to many local food recipes. The Savannah Zone is the major granite-producing agroecological zone in Ghana, accounting for 94% of the total granite production in the country. But do you know how the staple food came to Ghana? Take a look at this.
Groundnuts, otherwise known as peanuts, yields in Ghana vary greatly depending on variety, soil conditions and weather. Average yields range from 700 to 1,200 kilograms per hectare, with some farmers achieving up to 2,000 kilograms per hectare. The Savannah is the major groundnuts producing zone in Ghana. The crop is believed to have been brought to Ghana from Guinea-Bissau by the Bisa people of the Kosak traditional area. According to the Bisa community in the Upper East region, that accounts for the reason why they wear beads made from groundnuts, especially on festive occasion.
They came to the country, and their major economic activity they do was groundnut farming, metal works, and weaving of local smoke material. And by then, the major crops that they grew in this particular part of the country was groundnut.
A young Bisa man who desires for a suitor must exhibit his farming skills and strength at his would-be in-law's farm before he is welcomed into the family. It is meant for young men to prove that they can defend and provide for their wife.
It can happen that you go and farm, help them at the farm, you go and harvest the groundnut, then at the end you may not even get the woman. Then you have to still go back the following year, assist them in the groundnut farm and do everything for them.
The annual Zekula Festival at Kulungungu is meant to showcase the history and rich culture of the Bisa people to the younger generation and the world.
And so that is why you see some of us wear this groundnut to signify that we are Bisas, and you see others who wear with onions in the middle.
The theme for this year's Zekula Festival is promoting peaceful coexistence with neighboring ethnic groups through culture. Over 650,000 households, representing about 74% of households in the northern belt of Ghana, participate in groundnut production with a total groundnut cultivated area of about 400,000 hectares. The annual groundnut production in northern Nigeria is about 500,000 metric tons. The current price for groundnut on the market is $2,594 per ton on the average, while cocoa is selling at $3,130 per ton on the average. Ghana can rake in a lot of foreign currency from exporting groundnuts, but the country is not taking advantage of its potential. Of the total groundnut production, about 90% is used domestically, while the rest is exported mostly in its raw form.
Now, before we go, let's now bring you some international news. As Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been arrested at the High Court in the capital. He Imran Khan was appearing in court on charges of corruption, which he says are politically motivated. Unrest broke out in several cities following his arrest, with protesters blocking key roads. Mr. Khan was ousted as Prime Minister in April last year and has been campaigning for early elections since then. General elections are due to be held later this year, and Pakistan's former Prime Minister Khan has been arrested at the High Court in the capital. Well, still in international news, Vladimir Putin has said Russia's future rests on the soldiers fighting in Ukraine during his annual speech to mark Victory Day in Moscow. The military parade, which commemorates the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany, was scaled back this year for security. Putin also justified his invasion of Ukraine while accusing Western globalist elites of provoking conflicts. Civilization is again at a decisive turning point, he said in Moscow's Red Square to a crowd composed of just officials and veterans. He told the troops fighting in Ukraine a real war had been unleashed against Russia. This was the second Victory Day parade since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.